Hi everyone, welcome to today's meeting for the Carpenter Working Group. Um, let's get started. Today we don't have any project updates, at least from the Kubernetes 6 Carpenter. There hasn't been much changes or updates. The only main thing that we called out last meeting is we added a new issue triage uh, Monday meetings that is currently alternating between the Kubernetes 6 project and the AWS provider. So if you are interested, please feel free to check out the last notes as well as uh, the Carpenter docs, which has the new community meeting times. Cool. Does anybody want to give any updates from the other providers in progress or any project updates? Okay. If none, then we
Uh,
can.
Sorry, one thing. I didn't write this down, but we did merge or maybe I should let Jason talk about this, but or I don't. Oh yeah, Jason is here. Um, we did merge the topology spread constraint changes that support the additional configuration for taint policy and affinity policy on TSC, as well as match label keys. Um, is that it? That's all of them, right, Jason?
Um, yeah, that should be everything.
This year.
It's been open for a year. It's done.
Oh, sounds good. Okay, then we can move on to RFCs. So this was put up about an hour ago by Garvin. Do you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, it's a relatively small RFC, but it started from an issue a while back, essentially allowing us to configure registration TTL, which is currently hard-coded, to 15 minutes. The issue has a little bit more context, but essentially there are a bunch of images, such as ML images that do end up taking more than 15 minutes to bootstrap, causing either the team to have to fork Karpenter or some way of getting the image to, I mean, the node to continue despite having longer than 50 minutes of bootstrap time. So I opened the RFC to see if we can add, I guess, an override that doesn't necessarily changes the default of 15 minutes, but this allows the user to configure it if necessary.
I
And
think
it's bound to the no class, I was thinking, just because usually you would know if your no class is running GPU, um, and not at the whole Carpenter level, just because right now it's a single hard code.
I think I was reading through the issue, and I think a few scenarios that was called out, at least by Bryce from Azure, was that one of the main things, at least from our team, that we have said is to consider baking these drivers that you would use for GPU for GPU images,
Yeah,
uh, bake the drivers into the AMI. So in some cases, that's not necessarily possible. I think Bryce also called out that Azure also has kind of shifted away from that model and is starting to leverage a GPU operator, at least for
mm.
NVIDIA. So I think, yeah, you do bring up a good point that it's becoming more relevant now.
I think like at least it's been a while since I revisited the issue, but then when I initially was doing this, chatting with the team that was looking at this issue was that they could technically bake it, but then I think it would blow up how many EC2 node class that they maintain simply because of how many variants of drivers they're running. Um, so like, yes, it's doable, but for them it wasn't like completely sustainable to like maintain that many different node classes and bake it so that the admin kind of works. And I don't know if there's a better way to do that, but at least like from those perspective, like it was hard for them to make it do that, but then versus just making the registration detail a little bit more configurable, depending on what they're doing with it.
I guess what was your thoughts around having like like a bimodal setting where you either have like this 15-minute default or having like a 30-minute or an hour change that we could at least have on the node pool. Because I think now if you with the suggestion of having it on the node class, we would have to expect that all providers implement something
Oh, I
along.
see what you mean.
Um,
I think it's fine on the node pool. I guess I haven't given too much thought where it should be placed. I just thought it made sense to know when the registration would breach the TTL at the like the no AMI level, just because of, the user data is going to take a while. It might make sense at a node pool level. I just don't I don't fully know. I guess each provider would have to do it, but then there's still the default 15 minutes. Um, but you're right that like it introduced a new thing in the no class API that yeah, I haven't given that much thought into that.
not sure. Okay.
And I guess I don't know if other people have other opinions around that. I haven't actually given it that much thought around there.
Okay. I guess does anybody else have any thoughts? Because I think, yeah, I think we can give a few ideas and
Mhm.
on the RFC leave a few comments.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we might want it would be nice to have those two options figured out, whether if we want to make it a fully overridable
Mhm.
configurable thing or something that we can just have a few different settings that we allow. Because at the end of the day, the whole motivation of keeping it 15 minutes was just to drive the best practice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, happy to take any feedback. So yeah.
I'm curious, Gavin, you were thinking about like having the core reach into the provider-specific node class. That would be a new pattern, right?
Not exactly. So if you look at the code, if you click that link to the liveness, it doesn't necessarily have to go into the provider. It just need to look at the spec of the node class. So it's I believe agnostic, because right now it's not reaching to node class. You're right. But the node claim have a ref to the node class, I believe, which allows you to just pick a variable out.
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. So look into kind of provider-specific
Right.
node class by name, right? That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. But you're right that we don't usually do this, and it kind of cuts into some boundary issues. Yeah.
Yeah, not don't have strong opinions, just kind of thinking out loud because that's a new pattern.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. It's need to give it some thought, but that's a good thought.
Yeah, I think we're just if we can detail out like if we can have these details inside of the RFC, that would be great.
Yep, I can add to it.
Okay, sounds great. Cool. Anyone else have any other comments, thoughts around this? Cool. If none, then we can move on. Okay. I see we have a community question.
Oh, that's me.
Okay.
I was thinking other people have things. I don't want to take all the time, but I guess we were trying to recently move to V1. I see we dropped the login configuration, and I'm trying to figure out how, I guess from my perspective, we use the login configuration to append a little bit more information, like the cluster name, to the logs. I see that we dropped it. Is there a suggestion of like how we can do something like that, or does that require the logging agent to figure something out instead of through Karpenter?
Yeah, I think I had a general question about that. Yeah, like, can you not configure? I assume you're using something like FluentD or Datadog, or I don't know what you're.
Yeah, kind of Datadog, yeah.
And Datadog doesn't have like an option to inject that data.
The the reason we couldn't easily do it is because the Datadog agent runs at the node level, so it just moves all logs from like /pods into Splunk. So it doesn't do a lot of fancy transform within its thing. It's a shipping. So that's why just the way of our architecture is, it's hard to inject that information at the log forwarding agent. So we were relying on the log config previously to do it. Um, that's why, yeah, that's why it's hard for us to do it. I'm not saying like it's necessary, but for us, it was difficult for us to do it outside of Karpenter itself.
Got it. Yeah, I think we needed like a strong use case for it. And I think the general thought was that it would be configurable at the like log scraping level.
Yeah,
Haven't looked at Datadog's like configuration to really understand deeply like if it's possible or not. Because like if we look around, like I don't see, we basically didn't see similar configuration surface available
Okay.
on other components that existed in like the CNCF or in Kubernetes in general. Like there wasn't the kind of like wide open, like you can basically configure Zap exactly as it
Agree.
comes.
Yeah.
It was mostly like, hey, configure log level and maybe like some very like targeted use cases for logging.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's fine. I think I just want to ask, see, and see why, but that's reason why I was thinking like, oh, it's likely unreasonable that you get how to config, but I was like, it would have been nice for us, but that's okay.
What's the what specific configuration do you need? Do you need the pod name or like what?
No, we extract out a environment information that we append to our logs. So it's not like the pod information, it's like it's kind of like the Kubernetes cluster-ish name, but it's not exactly that. It's a little bit more specific for us. But then, um, yeah, that it kind of injects an environment variable as a key value into the log.
Got it. I have no idea what I'm looking at right now, but I was just reading through the Datadog config. I see like there's this concept of tags. I don't know if that's the same thing as
It's similar, yeah.
okay. Seems like you can add extra tags, but is it just difficult for the Datadog to get configured in that way? Because I assume you do this across your cluster, right? Like how do you do this for other components?
We usually rely on the code itself emitting the logs
Really?
for all of, yeah. Like we haven't the pipe, the forwarder is actually we don't do much on there. It's relatively dumb, and we rely on the code, and we don't have a lot of, I guess, external projects running inside. That's why we can do that. But in this case, it's like, oh, okay, we can't do this. We have to figure something else out. Yeah, which is fine. We can do that.
It seems like it's possible, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not fully sure.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. We can figure it out.
Okay. Um, any other questions?
Hi. Hi. I first just joined this meeting today because I was looking into the issue 3798, which is about the warm-up node options hibernation. And I read that there could be some of the discussions happening around that on 10th and 13th. So that was the primary reason that I joined. I don't see any objectives on it for today, but was there anything discussed on 10th in the AWS provider meeting? Because I couldn't find any logs on that document.
We did have a discussion around this is, this is the topic that we talked about in the AWS.
Yeah.
We did have a conversation around this. I don't know if it's listed here. It might not be listed in here, but you will, if you went back to the recordings, you will. You can read up on the conversation. Can you share the link real quick?
So Link for the issue, you mean?
Yes, it was, you said.
Got it. Yeah, sure, of course. I just shared in the Zoom chat.
Okay, this one, yes. Yeah, we did have a conversation around this on Monday. Um, is there anything specific you wanted to discuss around here, or I guess, yeah, was there anything specific you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was just waiting for the RFC, but today, just before this meeting, I was reading about some of the unfortunate news around some of the tests that has been done 5 days ago, and then wanted to just learn a little bit more about any specifics about that, or during the discussions on the 10th, was there any more discussions about that? And so is this idea pretty dead after that? Those kind of discussion or questions.
I don't think it's dead. It's more around how feasible it would actually be to implement this, as well as having an actual RFC so that we can just like take the conversations that are happening here and put them in an organized manner. I think right now, at least from the team's perspective, we would want somebody to help us out, or at least organize this. But I wouldn't say it's dead. I think there are a lot of open questions around this particular feature.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks for the perspective.
I mean, yeah, I guess from anybody that was on there, is there anything you guys would like to add?
Yeah, I guess at a high level, there's like the there's a lot of open questions, and I think part of the open question also ties to the like what's the mega issue, the manual node provisioning mega issue, because they kind of walk on each other in a way. So like I think I forgot who it was that came to the meeting. I believe they were gonna write an RFC for this or gonna attempt to start. I wasn't sure if they're committed to doing that, but I thought that was gonna be the outcome, and we'll start there with the RFC and yeah, and try to answer some of those open questions, but I wasn't sure if that was what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we just need to flesh out all of those at the end of the day, all those details, but we just need an RFC to be
Got it.
able.
Okay. All right. I'll also wait for that as well. Then thank you very much.
No problem. Cool. Any other questions?
I had kind of a question on that one, actually. Were people like, were there specific, I see, I'm just like reading through the conversation. Like, were there specific people in that conversation on Monday, because I wasn't able to make it, that were like committed to doing a write-up? Or is it just kind of like, maybe somebody will do it?
I think Ahmed had I think he at least wanted to bring the conversation forward and move it forward. I'm not sure if he directly like committed to having an RFC, but I think if we wanted any traction with this issue, we definitely want to have that first. And so at least that was the position that we left it at.
Got it.
Yeah, I guess Ryun, sorry, I if I pronounced your name wrong. Like, if you want to get this started, you can ping Amit and see if he is working on the RFC. If not, like, try to work with him or something, because I think it's hard for us to get an RFC going. But then, if you guys can commit to the resources to get the RFC going, it'll be easier.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks everyone. So next meeting will be on this coming Monday at 9 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be a Kubernetes SIGs issue triage meeting. Please feel free to join. But if we have nothing else, I think we can call this meeting to an end. Thanks everyone for joining.
Oh, sorry.
I had a quick thing. I was advised to come here to request for reviews on this PR that I have opened. I've dropped it in the chat. Yeah, so this is to enable support for launching Neuron instances with Ball Rocket armies. And it's a pretty small change in the code, and the docs are included. And we just look to get some feedback on, on the PR. Well, I think somebody will either, if we don't take a look, we'll definitely have somebody assigned out to it at the next triage meeting.
Go ahead and sign it to me. This is Reed. I volunteered to take a look.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Reed. Cool. Anything else? Anybody else wants to quickly discuss before we call this meeting? Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully we see you on Monday. Bye.